Hi, everybody, and welcome into the light. So, today we're going to be talking about a Nancy Grace video that came out a couple days ago where she brought on PI Steve Fisher to talk about the video that he was able to see in regards to who last parked the Tesla. More so than anything about the information that came out, because that's been out for a few days now, this to me has more to do with the conversation surrounding Celeste and the dialogue that the guests on Nancy Grace's show chose to use. Because as we look into this, it is gut-wrenching, some of the things they say about a 14-year-old child who is a victim, a complete victim in this case. And somehow along the way, they seem to have forgotten it. I don't know if people are caught up in this case that it's in Hollywood or LA, or thinking that some part of this excuses certain things. Like there's just blame being placed on a child. And so much of a focus in this video is on her and her actions and things she's done in her past that it's horrible and it needs to be talked about. Because we can't normalize talking about children who are victims in this manner. I don't want to normalize that. Something needs to be said. So let's get into the video.
PR guru to celebrities like D4vd, David Anthony Burke. Rob Shooter joining us, host of Naughty But Nice podcast, author of an upcoming novel. It started with a whisper. Excellent title. And you can find it at robshooter.substack.com. Okay, Shooter. I'm going to go into this in depth later, but other celebrities have actually gone on social media and said, wow, I want Burke D4vd's downloads. In this case, a dead body in your trunk can really hurt your reputation. So what do you make of how D4vd, David Anthony Burke, is going to get out of the fact that Fisher just dropped like a bomb? He's got video of the Tesla coming around the curve from the direction of Burke's house, his mansion. And it's got the body in it. He's watched the video. He never sees the body or anything else being put in or taken out of the car. Hence, the body was already in the car and it's coming around from Burke's house. What are you going to do with that, PR guru?
Yeah, Nancy, the
Fluff it
only
up
thing you can
and put it
do,
on the front of Vogue?
the only thing you can do in these situations if you are innocent is tell the truth. Lawyers hate that. Lawyers hate it when publicists get involved. But here, they're not just fighting for their legal future, but also their professional, their reputation. And so we would encourage them, if they were innocent, to tell their side of the story, to get that out now. So it's very, very tricky here. You have to sit with your client. You have to have a really serious conversation. And they have to basically tell you, are they innocent? Are they guilty? And if they are innocent, then he's got an amazing story to tell. Everything here looks really bad for him.
If he is innocent, he has an amazing story to tell. Let's say, again, innocent until proven guilty, okay? So not talking about what led up to Celeste being in the front of his vehicle. He has an amazing story to tell about how he groomed a child, lured her away from her home, drove over 2 hours to get there more than once, and drove her back to Los Angeles, and seemingly, allegedly, we've seen photos, had an inappropriate relationship with a minor. That's the PR advice we would give. An amazing story. I think Celeste and her family would disagree.
However, if this is all some terrible, crazy misunderstanding. This is an amazing story. And so if he can tell that, then he'll be okay. But once again, he has to be innocent.
I had to hear your whole spiel before I jumped in. Some, quote, terrible misunderstanding. Control room, can you show me a photo of this little girl, Celeste?
And thanks to Nancy for continuously advocating here, because she keeps saying little girl. She keeps asking to show the photos of her because she's a little girl. And it is sad how many times she has to keep saying that to remind these guests that she has, or her experts weighing in, that this is a little girl.
Okay, she's dead and dismembered and decomposing in his trunk, and you just call that a terrible misunderstanding?
What I call the terrible misunderstanding is him being blamed for this. That's what is the terrible misunderstanding here, if indeed he is innocent. This young girl who is dead, who is decomposing in the back of a fancy Tesla, that is not a terrible misunderstanding. That is an absolute disgrace, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. But we haven't got there yet, Nancy. And so maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that he didn't do it, and if he didn't, he should tell us everything, right?
He's not going to tell us everything. Like, this is what we're using our brains here. If he didn't do that, that he should tell us everything. He may not have done that, but are we ignoring the fact of everything else that it's pretty clear has been done in this scenario? Like, this is what I'm saying. You can't focus, if we're going to say from beyond a criminal aspect here, right, or any wrongdoing, from a PR perspective, how would this be any good advice? I would think PR and legal would want to have a little chat together. And the saying, that you don't need to speak, right? You have the right to remain silent, is probably going to be the best thing. Let people speculate. That's what people are doing right now and have been doing. They're speculating because we don't have all the evidence. And we're not going to have all the evidence until the authorities share that, until there's some charges being made to somebody in this case. But all you're going to do is open the floodgates, because we see that beyond, again, how Celeste became in the front of his vehicle, we are missing a whole other part. It seems oblivious that we're ignoring that this was a minor child, an adult man, allegedly had a relationship with.
Right now.
You know, Rob Shooter, you can really hurt your crotch when you're riding the fence that way. Okay, just be careful of that. Katie Forrester joining me right now, Assistive Exclusives Editor, U.S. Sun. Let's follow up on Shooter's terrible misunderstanding comment. A rapid fire, Katie. A, thank you for being with us tonight. And B, did D4vd, David Anthony Burke, ever report his Tesla missing?
That is the main thing that I found very interesting. And also not just the Tesla, but, if he was in a relationship with someone.
I don't think it's interesting. It wasn't missing. It was a block and a half away. If you live in LA and you park outside of your home on the street, people park further away than a block and a half away from their home and walk. That's normal.
Celeste, and he hadn't heard from her in months, weeks. Obviously she was a teen runaway, but he never reported that either.
Okay, let's pause here. Teen runaway. That's branding her as a teen runaway. Did she leave home? Yes. Did she hop on a bus and leave? No. It's been alleged, and maybe somewhat supported by some videos and confirmation from the family, that Mr. D4vd drove to pick up Celeste in Lake Elsinore, which is over 2-hour drive away from Los Angeles, and then drove her back. And she didn't run away any other time beyond when David allegedly went and picked her up in his vehicle and drove her to the city of Los Angeles. Not a teen runaway. There's a difference. I think that's kidnapping. I don't know what the legal standard is, but it feels like kidnapping. And I want you to think in the aspect of you have a daughter at that age, okay? And a grown man shows up outside your door, takes your kid away, over 2 hours away, which in some places that would be a totally different state, right? It could very well be. Do you think that that child just ran away by themselves? Would you not look at the person who picked them up, the adult in the vehicle? And if you were to call the police and say, hi, that would be a kidnap. Like, wouldn't that be a kidnapping? Let's say it's your son, who's an adult, who goes pick up a 13, 14-year-old child from the home and takes him away. Are you okay with that? Like, let's look at the perspective here. Nothing was okay that a grown man came and put this child in their vehicle and took them away from their home. Yes, does it appear that things were going on in Celeste's home that were not okay? Absolutely. That's a totally different aspect to this case of where she was failed at home. And again, that is another conversation. But teen runaway is placing the blame on a child.
I think it is very interesting. You know, if you were this close to this girl, whether she was a friend, whether she was a partner, you think that he would be shouting from the rooftops, you know, where is she?
Why would you shout from the rooftops, where is she? You're involved with a minor child. You're shouting then from the rooftops that you're involved with a minor child. You're just verifying that. Again, this is like, are we using our brains? Are we thinking about things when we're responding to these questions Nancy's asking? Like, clearly there's a reason he would not do that. Why would you? Because, okay, let's just keep going.
And also, yes, the car as well.
You did hear me say lightning round, right? Lightning, right? Okay. Yes, no. Did he ever report his Tesla missing?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did he ever report Celeste missing?
Absolutely not.
So, you know, back to you, shooter. Suddenly she's gone and he doesn't report her
Well, he knew
missing
she was
or his
missing.
Tesla
I
missing.
think he knew she was
How
missing,
do
and he
you,
harbored
again,
he harbored
fluff that up
the missing
and
child.
make it all glossy for the front of
She has a
what? In touch, the
Now, I understand that the question that's about to be asked is about how do you gloss it up? How do you defend this? So I understand that's the question, but I'm going to have something to say after this response.
Inquirer, what? How do you fix that?
She has a history of running away. This is somebody who left many relationships, many lives, and so
She has a history of running away. The only history, again, just to repeat, is when David Anthony Burke came and picked her up and removed her from Lake Elsinore and drove over 2 hours to the city of Los Angeles. She's left many relationships. What many relationships is she having at 12, 13, 14 years old? Many relationships? Okay, we cannot. This is a child. A child. And this would not be a relationship with an adult man. That's not a relationship.
this is a troubled person, and that is
A troubled person. This is a child. So she's just not a person. She's a child that somehow, we don't know yet, became unalived in a horrible, tragic situation because she should still be here on this earth and was found in the trunk of a grown man's vehicle. A troubled person. Maybe she had hard times at home. That doesn't equate to a troubled person when you're a child.
not blaming the victim here, Nancy,
It's blaming the victim.
at all. But this is somebody who has a history of making erratic decisions.
She's a child making erratic decisions. No, it's a child. We're not talking about some adult woman here. This is a child who is groomed by a man. And that's what happens when you are groomed, when they get into your head, when they gaslight you, when you have a bad situation at home, which makes you vulnerable, which many victims are in vulnerable situations at home that they want to get away from, which for somebody that is looking for a victim is the perfect circumstance for them to hone in and go, great. They want to get away. I can convince this person to leave and get away. A PDF file, that is who they're looking for. Great target.
That's how it is going to be presented. It's going to be presented like he was her mentor, that he was looking out for her. And one day he got her.
If he was looking out for her, he would have cooperated with authorities, knowing that there was a missing girl, a missing child, and that she was reaching out to him, hoping to be leaving the home, that he would take her away. That's how you would have helped her and said, how do I get her some help? She doesn't want to be in the home. I don't know what's going on at home, but she's reaching out to me and I'm a grown adult. And that concerns me because that is possibly a dangerous situation that she can get herself in. And I wouldn't want that for a fan of mine. Not mentoring. You don't kidnap the child and become their mentor. You'd be their kidnapper still.
Up and she disappeared, and as upset as he was about that, he didn't think this was that unusual. It's a very tricky argument. I'm not saying it's going to work, but that's what they're going to do.
I don't see how they're going to do that. Because there's no legal standing there that would explain that. Especially if the first instance that Celeste was brought back home, that like police did pick her up and bring her back, if she was with him, okay, speculating, if she was with him, then you already knew that she was taken back and that was wrong. And I'm sure that when it comes to evidence, if this was the case, this is going to come out in digital evidence. Because I believe that the digital evidence here is deep. David had multiple burner accounts, even just on social media. We're talking about an age group, okay, that is living all on digital devices and communicating that way. The evidence will be there if it supports that.
That's how they're going to position it. And that is why all the stars hire Rob Shooter as their PR guru. Okay, do we believe, when did Celeste drop off the map? When was the last time she was actually seen by someone?
So it's actually quite hard to tell, but she went missing a year prior. And then as far as I know, because I spoke to family, she did come back 2 or 3 times, but we think that she was missing from her family home for at least 6 months before she was found dead. So yeah.
And how did she get back home? Right? Who drove her?
Quite a long time.
Dr. John Delatorre, psychologist, mediator, specializing in forensic psychology. Dr. Delatorre, did you just hear everything that Rob Shooter and Randy Kessler said? All the big misunderstanding, the little problem of the dead girl decomposing and dismembered, I'd like to add, in a bag, a trash bag, in a trunk. Shooter called that a little misunderstanding that Burke should explain away since he's obviously innocent. And you heard Kessler say, why should he call and inquire about who may have done this?
Yeah, I think those are the perspectives of professionals who are trained to act in a certain arena based on the court of public opinion or the court of law. But no one is talking about Celeste. She was 13 years old. I don't like this idea that she's declared a teen runaway. There's clearly something going on with her. She's 13 years old when all of this stuff is happening. She could have been convinced that all of this was her decisions, but no one is talking about what was going on in that house. Why was she there? Why weren't any of David's friends saying, hey, this girl's way too young. We need to put her back with her parents. And now she was left to rot, literally rot. That's what she was left to do, because that's how little all of these people thought about her.
The Tesla owned by Burke had been his daily driver for a long time, regularly getting the car cleaned inside and out. However, when the Tesla was towed, it was...
Let's just take a minute and acknowledge someone on that show saying the right things, because we should acknowledge that as well.
was dirty with body damage. P.I. Fisher says it looked like the car had been off-road in the desert without wheel wells, beat up, and a huge dent in the back. While his former daily drive sits dirty by the curb for weeks, Burke keeps a clean red Tesla in the garage.
Reminder, D4vd, aka David Anthony Burke, is innocent. He hasn't been charged with anything. You know, another issue that has just happened, straight back out to Rob Shooter, PR guru. Upcoming novel, It Started With a Whisper on Amazon, host of Naughty But Nice podcast, and you can find him at robshooter.substack.com. Shooter, in the last days, D4vd, David, aka David Anthony Burke, has had all of the bloody shirt merchandise pulled. You can't get it anymore. You remember when Kanye, I'm afraid to say his name, it may conjure him up, had shirts with swastikas on them? Remember that? PR nightmare.
I do remember it. Mm-hmm.
And now this. What took them so, who is helping this guy, for Pete's sake? What took them so?
Yeah, even this whole thing, that whole thing is just, I don't know. It's just gross. And I get that he's an adult, but he has parents. And the weird thing is at one of these events where he had, fans come in and decorate these shirts, is that his very young little sister is there helping to paint these BLOOD onto the shirts and the paint with roses and stuff. A very young sister. That seems like a very odd thing to let a child at such a young age participate in, even if it's a sibling. It's just not normal. We shouldn't maybe be normalizing that. Okay. But we're not talking about some Halloween event or something like that where you're like, this was just normalizing it.
Long to pull the bloody shirts. Now there's a rumor online, not true, that he had mixed Celeste's blood in the paint to make those shirts. That's ghoulish, not true. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's awful. This should have been removed immediately. But we have to remember here, he is not a superstar. This is somebody who's pretty early on in their career. They probably don't have the very best people around them yet. I've worked with a lot of celebrities, and when they start out in their careers, they don't have the top-notch people on their teams yet, primarily because they can't afford them, they don't have access to them. So his career was still in the beginning phases here. So whoever's advising him probably isn't that experienced, but this should have been removed immediately. It wasn't. Eventually they fixed that. I think ultimately they did the right thing, but it took them way too long.
But that said, between the drains being searched, this video being amassed, you still don't think David Burke should say anything? Not even, I'm so sorry that Celeste has gone on to heaven, I miss her. Nothing?
Absolutely, yes. Every publicist that works with a star that gets in trouble
No.
wants them to sit down and tell their side of the story. However, lawyers really get involved here and say absolutely not. There's always a fight within the celebrity circle between the lawyers and the publicists. I think absolutely there should be a statement. There should be an interview. If you're innocent, you're going to want to tell your side of the story. However, you also too want to make sure anything you say doesn't get used against you. And so lawyers are going to be telling him not to do anything. At the moment, they're going to let the evidence speak, and that's certainly painting a really, really bad story. And so we also have to remember too, Nancy, friends of mine who own Teslas, they're some of the most sophisticated cars in the world. They have computers within those cars which tell you precisely where that car has been over the last several months. So it's not just inside the house, it's what's happening in the computer of that car that's going to really tie this case together.
If that USB.
Which as well, if you're looking at locations of the vehicle and that data, they will be able to match it up with cell phone data of anybody that is David or in his circle or around that area. They most likely will be able to kind of line things up as they're building a timeline of whatever occurred here.
is still, if the stick is still in the car, it can be taken out, which is a big question to me. The Tesla, the sophistication of their security in the Tesla is amazing, but that USB stick can be taken out that records all of that. So many unanswered questions, but I also understand, and is this a good look or a bad look? Let me go to Dr. John De La Torre. The funeral for little Celeste went down, and for all intents and purposes, we have not heard a word that Burke showed up at the funeral. I find that very odd.
Why would he show up? That would be so disrespectful to Celeste's soul, to her family. Regardless, you have some involvement in her life in some way. And yes, innocent until proven guilty. However, you are at the center of whatever happened to Celeste and the ongoing media. That would be horrible and selfish to show up to a celebration of life, to her funeral. It would be incredibly inappropriate.
He had been living with the little girl.
I find it odd too. I think,
and exactly because of what she just said, he was living with the little girl.
There are many people who would say, well, you can't show up for various reasons. But I think ultimately, if you really had, right, if David really had her best interest, Celeste's best interest in his heart, I think he would have shown up. I think he would have taken the opportunity to be in front of the family to say, I was really trying to mentor her. I understood that she had all these problems. I really had her best interest. So I think that there's a lot of other things that are compelling him not to do it, as opposed to just the altruistic aspect, which I don't think actually existed anyway.
What else are we learning?
It just wouldn't be okay. Even if that's how he felt or could feel, right? Again, this is speculation here. It's just not okay. You don't belong there. Sorry. That's not where you need to be. That is not your place. That is the last place he should be, beyond lawyer advice or PR advice or anything. It's not okay. It's inappropriate. So again, I think I've said all I have to say on this at this time. I think the important thing to remember here is that Celeste is the center of this case. She's a child victim here, and she deserves justice in every way and form. That involves the dialogue surrounding this. And it needs to be called out when people are discussing her like she's some grown adult woman. Right? Like some older man didn't allegedly groom her, drive her away from her home over 2 hours. That in the end, she wound up stuffed into the trunk of a Tesla. We can't be okay with it. Because when we're okay with these things, we become desensitized. We're okay with it the next time we hear it, and the next time. And eventually it's just fine, and we don't blink. And that's what I want to make sure we stop doing. It needs to be called out. It's not okay. Those that need to fight for the child victims are the grown-ups in the room. I'd love to know your thoughts down below, so please let me know. I'm curious. Did you hear the same things I did? Do you have a different perspective? I'm always open to others' opinions as well. In the end, I think Celeste deserves better than some of the conversation that was had and some of the dialogue surrounding her in that video. Thank you for joining the light. If you would like to help out the channel, please give us a like, subscribe for more updates on this case and many others that are ongoing. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. We have these rough conversations, I love to end with a deep breath. So give a deep breath in, release it. Once again, thank you for joining. See you soon.